Hello there, everyone. This is Emmanuel Lyson coming to you again with another edition of Financial Breakthrough Academy here on our channel. I trust you've had a great week and you are preparing for an awesome weekend. The weekend coming is Valentine's weekend. And because of that, we will be discussing a few things that relates to money and marriage and relationship matters. You may be married already, or you may be in a relationship, looking forward to marriage, or you may be single, but want to learn about what money is when it comes to relationship. Our topic this week is focused on money in the family setting, particularly in relationship, in marital relationship, uh, female male relationship. We want to be able to discuss just a few things leading up to Valentine's weekend. So let's go ahead and get our presentation up and running. I believe it's very important that we learn a few things all the time to allow us to be effective, be stewards of the resources that we have. Okay, so with that, I think we can go ahead and disclose just some information here. Again, the information presented here does not constitute a rendering of personalized investment advice, but it's limited to dissemination of general information and education on various financial topics. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the ideas discussed. The primary reason why we put up this disclosure is to allow you to know the concepts for educational purposes. The thoughts and ideas we are sharing on the channel is to help you get informed, get educated, get equipped. Now, if you desire to implement any of these ideas, we always recommend to work with a professional to allow you to take the necessary appropriate steps that will fit your personal situation. So that's why we have that disclosure there to allow you to be able to be taking the necessary steps after receiving the information we have to share. All right. So our topic this week is on money management in marriage. Marriage is part of life. Is that right? We decide if we want to live as a couple, have a relationship, have a marriage, somebody we want to spend the rest of our lives with, which means that we'll be touching all the aspects of our lives, including money matters. And already being a whole person, individual, you've been addressing your own financial situations. Now, as you come together as a couple, two people of different backgrounds, different desires, different goals, and all kinds of personal objectives, it's important that we take into consideration how our personal financial goals and desires fit into marital situation or marital environment. Okay, so that's the reason for addressing this topic, especially heading towards uh, Valentine's weekend. Okay, so let's start off with a scripture verse, and we like to share biblical concepts, biblical principles that aligns with our values for what we do. Okay, in this scripture, Ephesians 5:31 talks about, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two become one flesh. Well, if the two become one flesh, in essence, then when it comes to their money matters, it's no more just your money or my money or his money or her money. It's now our. Is that right? It's now a united, shared resource. You know, so that should help us understand, even from a biblical standpoint, if we are no more looking at ourselves as just individuals, doing our own thing, but rather bringing our resources and the strength and our efforts together, then that aspect of our lives will also be united. Okay, so that is the scripture verse that we wanted to lay on. Again, the topic today is on money management when it comes to marital relationship. How do we deal with money issues inside of a marriage? Is that right? So that scripture showing us that a man, a woman are now together as one, united as one flesh, one people, which means that from a financial standpoint, you got to look at the money factors, money issues in the relationship as a whole, so that you can get the most out of what your financial goals and your financial plans look like. Okay, so here is a statement, a quote. It's an anonymous one. It says that don't fight about money, because after you've said mean things to each other, the amount of money in the bank will be the same. That's very interesting. Is that right? Well, that's really, it's a big statement there, because we all know that marital contentions and marital challenges, a lot of them revolve around money issues. It's not the only thing, but it's also one of the big things. And this quote, attributed to nobody we know, is saying that fighting over money, saying mean things, and having all kinds of you know discussion, that is heated arguments and all around money, will not change the amount of money in the bank at the end of the day. So yeah, there potentially disagreements of how things has to be handled, and addressing issues and trying to rectify mistakes that has been made, but going after each other's throat, and being very verbally abusive or physically abusive or anything like that will not change how much you have at the end of the day. Okay, so that leads us to say that there are actually other things that we could be doing as marital couples to help us in navigating our money, you know, issues or money goals. And all of us have specific issues for our own finances that we have to address. So, in the context of marital relationship, it's important that we take a very important and critical look at it. Again, whether you just got married, or you're planning to get married, or you are, perhaps at 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years in marriage already, it's an important conversation to have when it comes to money matters. Is that right? So sometimes you may want to implement or have questions as we go through this presentation, or as you listen to this presentation. You can go ahead and text your name to 720-575-1505. That allows us to be able to reach out and set some time for a complimentary discovery call, that we can be able to maybe answer a specific question that you may have. concerning the topic of the discussion, or any other financial topic that you may be concerned about. So with that said, I just want to address a couple of things here: money, marriage, financial infidelity, and then money management ideas for marriage that we could all use in our relationships. Okay, so let's start with money and marriage. The issue is that it's not money. It's not the reason for getting married. All right, hopefully not. That we all get married for love. Hopefully, we have the honest desire to spend our life with another person, and we choose that person for the rest of our lives. As the scripture we read said, a man will leave father and mother and cleave to the wife, and the two shall become one flesh. That's the goal. Now, because we live here on this planet, we need to take care of our needs and our basic physical needs, food, clothing, place to stay, and all that takes money to do that. And therefore, the discussion and the conversation of money in marriage cannot be ignored. It's just something that we have to be open to have conversations about. So, how do you go about that? Just a few thoughts that I put together when it comes to trying to address the issue of money. First of all, we need to lead with an open communication. It's very easy to be tied up when it comes to talking about things in general, especially money as one important factor. And depending on our own background, how we are raised, the kind of family we came from, our own attitude in life as a whole, it could be a question or topic that is not easy for us to talk about. Okay, so I think in marriage, when we are dealing with money matters, we have to come in there with an open communication, willing to share, willing to discuss the issues about the money factors. Is that right? So, because when we do that, we really lay a foundation that allows each other to be vulnerable and talk about this important factor in a relationship. Again, we want to spend our lives with spouses, and for that reason, if money is an important key element in the conversation, we have to come to the table with open communication. And that communication includes a discussion on our earnings and our spending. Many a times, couples, for concerns of not willing to be vulnerable and open and have that trust level develop, we tend not to want to discuss or share our true earning potentials or earning abilities, or how much we are actually earning, or how much we spending or want to spend in things. So that discussion of our earnings, and because I don't know the money, it ends up, it's a matter of one of portion of the equation, how much we are earning. So you deduct how much you're spending from that, and the rest is whatever is left for ourselves. Is that right? And that what plays into all the other big factors of net worth and doing investments and all that. So the point is that needing to discuss our earnings and our spending in a marital relationship is very, very key. In fact, it's very basic right there, because if we can come to the table with open communication, they're willing to discuss, hey, this is how much I'm capable of earning, my business is able to earn, my career, my work, you know, just being willing to share that will go a long way in our relationship with one another here when it comes to marriage and the money issues that we discuss in marriage. Now, the other thing that I have here is about truly outlining our short term, mid-term, and long-term financial goal. Because remember, marriage is designed to be a lifelong affair. It's not just a 1 day, 1 week, 1 year issue. Uh, for all of us, most of us that have a biblical understanding, we know that, hey, this is until death do us part. So if that's the case, there's a long-term objective there, but we start off on short-term and medium-term goals, and of course our long-term. So having that conversation again, going back to leading up with an open communication, discussing matters about money issues, and willing to expose and have a dialogue of, hey, this is what money means to me, how much of it that I really need for my life, and now as a couple, how do we put together something that will help us to enjoy our marriage. At the end of the day, it's about spending time with one another and enjoying your life however you see fit. But it's important not to allow the money factor to taint the primary objective of coming together, which is the love and the relationship and that friendship. So once we have a platform of discussing money factors and issues, and discussing and willing to have an open book conversation, access to one another's resources, it makes life easier. Now every couple is different. Everybody will have their own structure or system of how things work for them, but the idea is to talk about it, to know, okay, our bank accounts, we have joint bank accounts, and we have some that are just for ourselves alone. We spend money through this account, and we save through that account, and whatever works for you as a couple. Once you are having a conversation, leading in an open discussion, having opportunity to talk through all the various facets and elements of it, really addressing your long-term, short-term, and midterm goals, you create that atmosphere that will foster, the love that you want or you've chosen. Is that right? So again, leading towards Valentine's and marital relationships, and all the fun stuff about it. I think from a financial standpoint, it's important that we take this into consideration, that our finances, our money matters, will impact our marriage, in different ways. So as we start off having those conversations and leading up with the things that we believe will allow us to be more effective in handling our money matters, it will go a long way for ourselves. So anyway, that was the first thing I wanted us to discuss. That money in marriage, we cannot ignore it, because we live on this planet where we need financial resources to go about our lives. So in a marital setting, we have to find ways and means of allowing our goals to be aligned, and our objectives to sync effectively, so that we can be a blessing to one another and support one another and truly love one another the way we want it. Is that right? And not allow the issue of money to become a dividing factor. It should unite us, not divide us as a couple. Okay, so that's the first part of what I want us to talk about. Now, there are truly financial infidelities that is researched and has been published, that you know most of us, when we talk about infidelity, we're looking at more of sexual infidelity or some other big uh, type of infidelity within a relationship. But from a financial standpoint, there's also known to be financial infidelity, not being faithful to a spouse based or from the financial standpoint. All right. So there's some statistics I wanted us to kind of go over quickly. Um, this one, was put together way back in 2016 or so. It's a little bit dated, but it kind of shows you, if you can see, how people felt during that particular uh, survey that was done. 2 out of 5 talking about having dealt with some financial infidelity with your spouse. All right. In that same survey, 1 out of 5 talk about having lied about the earnings or debt. you know, that's pretty strong situation there, when your love of your life lies about their money issue or their debt issue. That can break trust. That can impact the relationship down the road. It can begin to sow seeds of doubt and lack of trust and things like that. uh, there's also an indication of how people hide purchases and bank statements and bills in cash from their spouses. All of that is just to say that in our marital relationship, the issue of financial unfaithfulness can be very, very hurtful. And some further research indicate that sometimes the financial unfaithfulness could potentially be stemming from even actual true sexual unfaithfulness as well. Is that right? So it's important to, again, going back to the earlier conversation, willing to have an open communication, open discussion, the ability to address specific concerns and needs in the relationship from that perspective, and bringing those things to bear. Is that right? Because if you look at it, we are trying to care for one another in a marriage. You are trying to be kind and loving, and just being a good person to the other person. There are loving, but the money factor can go a long way when it's not dealt correctly, to be have a damaging effect on the relationship. Now, in another research there, I think Bloomberg had it not too long ago, that U.S. adults admitting to cheating financially. Of the survey, about 31% of the people surveyed admitted having cheated financially. Is that right? And the cheating financially, 31% of that. Those who cheated said that they did it to maintain privacy. That percentage was about 30%. The idea is to try to have some personal privacy of what they have or what they use or spend and all that. And 25% of them that were surveyed also said that they feel embarrassed about how they handle their money. Part of the reason why they kind of kept, all the information or the financial data to themselves was feeling embarrassed about the way they handle money. Okay, so all of that is telling us here that we are dealing with a problem, a situation whereby people are, whether intentionally, unintentionally, living in a situation whereby there is not that level of openness when it comes to money matters. A third of U.S. adults in that survey, you see. So I think it speaks to the fact that when we ignore this important aspect of our marital relationship, it can really create havoc down the road. It may be slow, but it will persistently impact our marriage. So I think that's something to really think about and address and start to identify how can we you know take care of ourselves, one another, and eliminate or at least reduce all the likelihood and the scenarios that will lead us into financial infidelity in that respect. Okay, now let's look at a few ideas here when it comes to dealing with money management in marriage. From a few things we've mentioned already, I say let's start with love. Is that right? If the essence of marriage, is love, okay, willing to spend your life caring and loving and just spending your life with somebody. Well, the money matter factors of relationship that deals with money. It's if we start off with doing it in love, I think it will make a difference. Our objective should be love to help build and help make our lives better in that respect. The next being that I think having the transparency in the process will go a long way in continuing to build the trust, and that leads to that honest communication. If you have that transparency, most likely you're going to be willing to share honestly what we think about the money factors and issues in our lives, and be willing to discuss them to help edify, build, and encourage one another to attain our goals. Now, I think another issue is being able to really understand each other's needs. Men may have different needs, women may have different needs when it comes to money in a family, and of course, we have probably extended family members and people we have to take care of. So, I think if we bring all of that into the limelight and we are able to prioritize, put our budget together, our goals, our objectives, it'll go a long way to help us to truly start understanding how do we love one another, care for one another, and allow our money matters to build us rather than tear us apart. Okay, it's not only when we are in need of the money that it becomes a problem. Sometimes having a lot of the money can also create a problem because we may not have learned the skill of how to manage wealth and manage affluence, and so that could also be a problem. And I think no matter what it is, considering help from a trust, a professional one who's trust, that will be a great way to really continue that process. So with that, I think we should be able to um, go ahead and start our weekend here, heading towards Valentine's, uh, in a way that if you have a loved one trying to spend your life together, enjoying your life in a marital setting, I think let money matters in your marriage, your relationship, truly help build you, help you enjoy your life, and help you, you know, just be nice to one another and caring to one another, and let the factors that tear us apart because of money be limited, because we are communicating, we are talking about things and discussing, and potentially seeking financial help from professionals that can give us educations and guidance and counsel of how to, whether it's managing our investment, or planning ahead for the future, helping us navigate the various options that we may have to consider for our financial goals. Whatever it is, that will be something that we can learn from a trusted professional. So with that, I'll leave us here with that, and enjoy an awesome rest of the week. We'll be back very soon. This has been Emmanuel Eisen, uh, hosting here with you, Financial Breakthrough Academy. Have a wonderful rest of the week.